Radio Rahim in Belfast, Ireland with Frank Warren. I've met you in many places in this world. This is the first time I've come over to Belfast for one of your fantastic shows, and a fantastic show it is indeed. You've got Carl Frampton at the top of the card. In his backyard, he's fighting Luke Jackson. I've been here a few days. I've seen the atmosphere building in the neighborhood. Talk to me about how important it is for Carl to fight here and what the fans here in Belfast bring to this stadium on Saturday night.
Well, first of all, Carl's dream was to fight here. It's what he's always wanted. This is the biggest stadium in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And Luke Jackson's here to say, as he said himself, to turn his dream into a nightmare. That we will see. But to the fans of Northern Ireland, it is a big, big event. It's probably one of the biggest boxing events that's ever taken place in this city. It's sold out. There's 25,000 people here. And it's going to be rocking the place. You're going to see some good fights. There's going to be some good fights on there. And out of these fights, there will be some even bigger fights.
Now, this being my first time in Belfast, it means that I hadn't covered a Carl Frampton fight since Leo Santa Cruz, the rematch. And when he lost that rematch, he said he wanted to come back here. He wanted to fight at home for a while and get his mind right. And he even revealed to me yesterday that he'd battled depression a little bit. But being here, being with you and his new trainer and winning these fights at home has gotten him right. And now he's ready to tackle the guys at the top of his division, which all tend to be in America. So as a promoter, do you feel it's time to bring him back over the other side of the pond and start to maybe put together a rubber match with Santa Cruz or Valdez for the first time?
Well, you know, obviously the Santa Cruz fight, a rubber match is a big thing. Valdez is a big fight, but there's another guy here in the UK called Josh Warrington, who beat Lee Selby, who everybody was saying was the best pound-for-pound British fighter. He took him to school. And that fight between Josh Warrington, if it happens, and Carl is a huge fight. It's a huge fight over here, a massive fight. And the winner can go on and fight Valdez and Santa Cruz.
Well, I speak fluent promoter, so it sounds like you got one fight on your mind and it's not the other two. Is that what Carl wants? Like, obviously, that division is impacted with talent, and someone still has to emerge as kind of the dominant star.
Well, that's true, but you look at the two guys. This is sold out, 25,000. If we had a 40, 50,000 stadium, it would be nigh on full out. Josh Warrington's last fight was in Leeds, in England. Stadium, 25,000 people. They're big ticket selling fights. It's a big fight over here, and it makes a lot of sense to make, but obviously Carl can't slip on that banana skin called Luke Jackson. He's got to come through that fight. He's got to win that fight. And if he does it, we'll be laughing.
You know, the boxing world has constantly, if recent, been faced with this dilemma. Americans tend to have, I won't say the best fighters, but even the best fighters but listen, let me finish. The best fighters from around the world plant a flag in America. So it doesn't mean that they're American born necessarily, but they fight there. But here, you guys, hands down, have the ticket sales. You have the audience that is bankable. So a fight that is obviously being made on Saturday night, in addition to what's happening in the ring, for instance, Deontay Wilder coming over, and you're going to make this fight on television with Tyson Fury. I think the cat's out of the bag on that one. But you're traveling to the States to do it. Where do you, as a promoter, see the most bankable resource? Is it being a global star, making your flag in America and having the world see you? Or is it really just getting the pounds in the pocket here at home?
I think it's a bit of both, really. But it's also about what the fans want. You know, and if there's a big domestic fight, a fight that's, the fans are coming out for that, you're going to sell 30, 40, 50,000 tickets for just like that. What are we going to stakes for? It makes more sense. We're delivering the fact, with the greatest respect, we in boxing know Santa Cruz's. We in boxing know Valdez's. If they walk down the street here in Belfast, no one would know who they are. Or walk down the street in London. But these two guys, Josh Warrington, Carl Frampton, they know who they are. So that for us is a big fight to do. But when the time's right, we're on the road. Listen, I have no problem. I took Billy Joe Saunders over because I felt the time was right to go and fight Lemieux in Canada. And he went out there and done what he had to do. He went and kicked the other guy's backside and kicked it in good style. He's out there again to fight Andrade soon. So I have no problem in fighters going on the road. And we talked about the big man himself, the lineal champion, the real champion who never lost his belts in the ring. He comes for his fight on Saturday. Then, we're hoping we can consummate the deal and announce it.
You mentioned BJ Saunders, but in addition to that huge fight that's being made with Andrade, there's a pretty big middleweight fight happening in Las Vegas.
You're absolutely right. It's a massive fight. It's the rematch, and we're all looking forward to it.
But we're looking forward to somebody being able to unify the middleweight division.
Well, listen, we had a contract sent to us to make the fight with Golovkin. We signed it. Ask Tom Loeffler. I signed the contract, Bill signed it, and we sent it back. And then they decided they were not going to fight in July last year. They were going to wait until the September after he had that tough fight against Danny Jacobs. Mm-hmm. And they went and had their fight, as we all know, last September. That's what happened. We signed it. We nearly did the fight again with Tom Loeffler. He called me before the Canelo fight. They'd run it. They said that they'd finished negotiations, couldn't make it. I said, we're done. We're in. And then he came back to us 2 days later and said, sorry, we're going to go with the Canelo fight. Now, I get that financially. I understand that. We're not stopping people trying to unify the title. We signed it. I'll show you the signatures. And I'm sure Tom will confirm that. We signed for the unification. That's why Billy Joe Saunders went to the States, fought Lemieux, to show the Americans what he can do. Show him over there, this is a guy who's not afraid to travel, who can fight. And that's why he was there.
Do you feel like maybe Loeffler and Triple G were using you and Billy Joe Saunders as leverage over Canelo to make that fight ultimately?
Listen, maybe they were the second time round. The first time round, I don't think so. I just think the fact that he's been a busy fighter, as you know, Golovkin, over the years. And I just felt that after that fight with Jacobs, they thought to themselves, listen, we're asking to fight in July. And mentally, they're thinking he beats Billy Joe Saunders and then 3 months later fights again against Canelo. And I just felt that they thought at that time, look, let's take a break because they need the break before the fight. And I get that. I understand that. Being realistic, I understand that. But, I don't know, something inside me tells me they don't want to fight Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is undefeated. He's a tough fighter. He's a hard fighter to beat. He's got a good chin. It's an extremely good chin. He can box and he can punch. And he would be a Canelo nightmare. Canelo will never, ever want to fight Billy Joe Saunders. I can guarantee you that. He'd never want to fight him. And as for Golovkin, we'll see what happens. But first of all, now Bill, he's got his mandatory against Andrade. Remember, a lot of people didn't want to fight Andrade. Yeah, let's get it on. Let's get it done. Frank, I'll go to America to fight him. Done.
Well, I give you that credit. Like with the Wilder and Andrade fight, you got your fighters fighting guys who are avoided and who seem to be having a hard time making fights. So the road for Billy Joe Saunders to greater stardom, to bigger purses, has got to be the unification. And as you've displayed, you've tried to make that fight. But now there's an outlier title out there, being that the IBF stripped Triple G.
Well, at the end of the day, we all know who the three guys are that are the best, and that's Canelo, that's Golovkin. I think Golovkin, I'm doing that the wrong way. Golovkin, Canelo, and there's Billy Joe Saunders. They're the best three out there, and there's no doubt about that. Two of them are fighting each other, and who knows what the decision or the result of that will be again. But one of them's got to fight Billy Joe Saunders. They're going to have to fight him.
But wouldn't it put more pressure on either one, whoever wins this second match, maybe even a third, to fight Billy Joe if he can pick up two straps instead of just the one he's got? If the IBF, are you looking to make?
Do you know what? I don't
the winner of that fight.
Of course, we'd like to make the winner of that fight. Absolutely, what more can we do? We've signed for the fight.
No, I don't mean Triple G Canelo. I mean the winner of what's likely to be, Jacobs is going to fight for the vacant.
He's been beaten by Golovkin. We want the winners, not the losers. What do we want to fight the losers for? We want to fight the winners.
I would love for him to fight the winners. I'm trying to figure out how that happens.
Well, it's very simple how it happens. If you want to be considered to be the best in the world, you've got to fight the best in the world. And the best in the world at the moment, in my opinion, is Golovkin. And he beat Daniel Jacobs. Billy Joe Saunders wants to fight the best in the world.
Well, the argument for who's the best in the world at the heavyweight division is quite scattered about. Obviously, your man Tyson Fury says that he's the real champion. You've even said that in this interview because he hasn't been beaten by any of these guys who are holding belts. But he's on his way to proving his word correct. He has an opportunity now to face Wilder. And it's interesting because Wilder's coming over. He's clearly going to get in the ring after the fight, assuming that Tyson wins. And the fight sounds like it's going to be made in Vegas. Maybe November is a word I've been hearing kicked around. How is it that you're able to make this fight and Eddie Hearn wasn't able to make this fight, which admittedly Joshua Wilder is a bigger fight than any other fight in the heavyweight division, but now you've got the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. How is it that you were able to make it and pull these things off, and it doesn't seem like Matchroom and Eddie Hearn were able to pull these things off?
Well, because the two fighters wanted it to happen. Simple as that. They agreed terms, and they want the fight. That's how fights happen. That's where it's at. So there's an understanding for the fights happen. Why didn't Joshua fight Wilder? Why did he turn down a guarantee of $80 million? A guarantee, could be much more money than that. Why did he turn it down? Simple, very simple, because they don't want it. You either want to fight or you don't. It's two ways fights don't happen. They don't happen over money, or they don't happen because the fighter don't want to fight. There's two ways fights happen. They happen over money, and the fighters want to make the fights. $80 million for Anthony Joshua to go to the States. If he loses, he gets $50 million guarantee, and a rematch he would earn 30. That's huge money. That's huge money for a British heavyweight. That's huge money. So he couldn't complain about the money. He can't complain about the money, but he didn't want the fight. It's as simple as that. These two guys, you got the lineal champion, and looking at, I don't know how good Tyson's going to be now. I mean, his first fight back was what it was. I don't know how good he's going to be. He's looking great in the gym. He's lost a lot of weight. Mentally, he's back in the game. But you look what he done with Klitschko in the other guy's backyard. Went to Germany, took him to school there. 18 months older, Klitschko, 42 years old, goes to England, goes to Wembley, fights Joshua. A great fight. For the fans, a great fight. But look at the way the two fights. One, our man, Fury, he couldn't even get in. He couldn't lay a glove on Fury. He puts Joshua on the floor. Joshua gets bravely up. Klitschko, when he's got him on the floor, he was not like an adventurous fighter. A fighter, when he got a guy in trouble, he'd jump on him and put him away. He'd let him get back into the fight, which I think a lot of guys wouldn't have to do. And he was 42. He was 18 months older when he fought Fury. For me, that tells you all you need to know about Tyson Fury. This fight now, please God, it gets made. I hope it gets made for these two guys. The winner of Tyson Fury and Wilder is the number one heavyweight. I don't care what anyone says. The lineal champion against a 40-0 guy, they're the number one. Because Anthony Joshua did not want to fight Wilder. So the two guys, the winner out of those two will be the champion. And the winner out of those two, and it's very easy to make the fight with the winner out of those two with Joshua. Very easy to make the fight. Do you know why? It's 50-50.
I'm going to be back over here in
why would you not make
September.
Would you not think that's a 50-50? Here is the fight. You take 50%, he takes 50%. End of story. That's how you make the fight. And if you don't make it for that, there's a reason. And that reason is because somebody won't want the fight to happen.
I'm as certain as you are that Eddie Hearn would disagree with that mathematics.
Why?
I mean, I'll ask him in September, but I'm certain he wouldn't agree with you.
Wilder and Fury in England would draw 80,000 people, but he's willing to travel because that tells you that's what he is, a traveller. He's a traveller by name and he's a traveller by his actions. He went to Germany to fight. He's willing to go to America, to Vegas, where he is, to fight. That is Tyson Fury. That's what he's about.
Now, I'm all about undisputed champions. And we're so close in two major divisions, middleweight and heavyweight, and you seem to hold the linchpin in both to some degree.
We're trying to make the fights. We're making them. We've signed it. Listen, Tyson comes through, the Wilder fight, let's make it. We have no problem with that. It's been a joy dealing with Al Heyman and Shelley. It's been a joy dealing with. No problems from our end. Let's get it on. If he comes through, let's get it on. Billy Joe Saunders, and I know I'm sounding like a scratch record. I'm keep repeating myself. We signed for the fight. We want the fights. My guys want the fighters. They want to fight.
As a promoter, what do you think is the major hindrance to making that kind of fight? Is it, for instance, Eddie Hearn has made a big show of his incursion, if you will, into America, right? He's Matchroom USA. He's going to take over the States.
The first bit against Bob Arum. And Bob Arum had 20% of the purse to play with, or 25% of the purse bid to play with, and Bob won it.
So I will.
Was that true or not?
No, it's true. This happened.
It happened.
Yeah, I know it happened. So then, how do you rate his performance so far on his American invasion? And you think it'll be successful?
I live in America. You know better than I. You live in America. You work it out. I got no idea. The other fight was he's got a kid called Kid Galahad fighting another American. They didn't even show up at a purse bid. We won it. We got it. So, what do you want me to say? Who knows what's going to happen? Listen, the one good thing is being very serious. It's good. The more boxing it's on, it's better for the sport. The more people see it, it's great for the sport. And we all, time tells whether things are going to work or not. It's all about time. It's about consistency, and we'll see what happens. Bob Arum's consistent. He's consistent. He's been consistent from when I first got into the sport. He's been doing it much longer than me. He's consistent. He evolved. He does various things, and he does what he has to do. And he was consistent. A couple of days ago, he got behind his man and won the first bit. He'd done what he had to do. And that's a statement. That is a statement. That's an ESPN statement. That's what he did.
Last question down this road. Obviously, the DAZN deal has shaken things up a bit. The streaming. Yeah, I mean, the stream, he's got Michael Buffer. He's got Joshua fighting on a stream.
He's got Michael Buffer. Since when did Michael Buffer have a fight? Well, he's an announcer, for God's sake.
But he's the voice of boxing. To pull a guy in like that and keep everyone from him is a big deal.
I love Michael Buffer. He's a great guy. But people don't buy tickets or buy subscriptions to see the announcer. They buy to see the fights.
He's got Joshua on there as well. I mean,
well, then he's got Joshua on there. You got a great fight. You got Anthony Joshua fighting Povetkin, who struggled for his life with David Price, a British heavyweight who's been knocked out 3 or 4 times. Whoopee! And then you know what you really got? You know what you really got? What? Tyson comes through this fight on Saturday. You got Wilder and you got Tyson Fury. That's what you'll get happening. So there you go. Wilder, Tyson Fury. 2 undefeated fighters. Povetkin and Anthony Joshua. But Michael Buffer's announcing. That'd probably be the most interesting thing on the show.
Radio Rahim with the Frank Warren analysis of everything boxing. Always candid, always a pleasure to talk to you. We're here in Belfast for Carl Frampton and Luke Jackson. First time here. I've had a wonderful time. Thanks for having me over. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me. Always a pleasure. Radio Rahim with Frank Warren.